Hello, Phil Croshaw here again from Passions, and in this episode we're going to talk to Rocco. And Rocco is a promoter who's doing television, and he's going to talk to us as well about adapting during a pandemic. Enjoy. Hello and a very warm welcome to this edition of Passions. And I'm delighted today to be joined by Rocco. What a great name, Rocco. Rocco is an amazing guy with an amazing story, with doing lots of really interesting, fun things. And I desperately wanted him on the show today to talk about his history, what he's doing, about his passion, and what he's currently doing in the entertainment and music space. So a very warm welcome to Passions, Rocco.
Good morning, Phil, and thank you so much for having me on again. Well, having me on for the first time.
Yeah, we never know. It might be again, because it might be so good that I invite you back for part two.
Thank you so much. I'll be here.
Okay, so tell me first of all then, Rocco, what would you say if somebody said to you, stop you in the street and said, what exactly is your passion? What would you answer? How would you answer it?
I'm always a person that gives a helping hand to everyone. I'm always a person of giving back. So that's like always my joy, my passion is, as long as it pleases others, it pleases me as well. You know, and I've learned that from everything I've done in concerts or in shows. It kind of really pleases me when they walk away from the theatre to say, wow, what a great show. And for me, it's like a passion, I guess, because I've made people happy. It's all about smiling. It's all like pleasuring people. It's nothing to do with profit or loss or whatever. You know, it's all about what's the joy inside, and I bring that across. You know, so yeah, I don't know how you define passion, but that's my joy, shall I say?
Yeah, it's interesting because that's part of this whole journey and this channel, and the journey that we're on is about researching passions. And it's very interesting as the journey's gone on, how many different people give different answers to that question. And often people say, well, I've never really thought about it, but seeing as I'm on the show and you're talking to me, this is what came into my head. And I think what I would say is straight away is that we're recording this in end of February 2021. So we have just been through and are still going through what we hope is the end of the global pandemic. So that positivity and that kind of idea of smiling, I think, is very topical and very appropriate. And that's great. So great to hear in the current climate.
Yeah, I think that's one thing. I recently launched a TV show on Sky, which was called, if I could talk about it, that is.
Yes, please do. Yeah.
It was called Feel Good Factor TV, a 13-week show, no commissioning. We kind of knocked on doors, kind of raised money for different people, and it was all about, that was just about it. It's just to uplift the nation. The whole content of the channel was to make people feel good, look good, be inspired. So we kind of very selected the content that we had to put together every week. And we were so lucky through our good contacts in the industry of health and well-being. We managed to get some great names on board who supplied a lot of TV content, from anything from meditation, from exercising, from maybe inspirational speakers, right from Joe Vitale, Tony Robbins. So they all joined me because their support was tremendous, because it was all about inspiring the nation through this kind of lockdown, or people, mental health, people being stuck at home. You know, we're not the answer. It was just a contribution, you know. And you know, we got fantastic reviews, fantastic viewership. So then we're happy with that. You know, we felt we've contributed back to the nation one way or another. So that was a great thing to do, what we did.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds absolutely fantastic and it sounds amazing. And I'm sure there's no doubt in my mind. For example, I mean, I didn't get to see it as maybe a significant number of people won't have seen it. So I would love you to find ways of making that more available again. I'd love to watch it.
We are looking at working on series 2. It's always subject to getting sponsors, and you know, it's not been an easy ride, because I can understand it's not the best time to raise money for any businesses or concerts or shows. You know, people are a bit worried what the future holds, so they're holding tight on their money. I got inspired. My normal work, I organize events, concerts, and shows, and I too suffered the kind of a bit sadness. You know, you feel a bit depressed, not able to put on concerts or shows because all theatres was closed. You know, I normally have 2 or 3 shows a year. And I miss doing shows, I miss doing concerts, you know, so I kind of turned back to TV. And I did the first TV show, a live one, which I presented on Sky. And it was all about Italy, because I'm from Italian descent, but I'm also from Bradford originally as well.
Right.
Pardon the accent. So I got this Bradford Italian accent. It's a bit weird, but go on.
Different. It's different. It's good to be different.
People said you sound like Keith Lemon. I said, what? So because I couldn't do any concerts or events because theatres locked down, I went to back to TV, and I proposed an idea to Sky if we can do something for Italy. So we ended up, this was in June, where we did a 3-hour show live, and I collected, it was all about sending messages to the people of Italy, because Italy was one of the prime countries where they suffered the most about COVID, and you know, so many people dying, and I lost friends there as well.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that inspired me to let's do something for find a way to give support, inspirational. So I was very lucky. I managed to put a 3-hour show together, and I called all my celebrity friends, right down from Whoopi Goldberg, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Sylvester Stallone, everyone. I had about all sending, and you know, and Brian May, which I'm going to tell you a story about Brian May in a second. Bless him. So we gathered all these little selfie messages. So many stars from all over the world sending love messages to Italy. And it was so wonderful. We clipped all the footages together. There could have been a minute long or 2 minutes. And it ended up with a 3-hour live show full of messages of love. No money, no donations. And it was like well received across Italy. And that like made me like, wow, we did something good. And I think because of that show, which was called Help for Italy, that inspired me to do Feel Good Factor for England. So it kind of led on.
That's amazing. And I want to talk more about all that and some of the stuff you want to do. But before I do,
I'm going to tell you about Brian May before I forget on this one.
Say again, sorry.
I got to tell you about Brian May on
oh yeah, I won't let you forget. I'll come back. Listen, I'll come back to that. I'll tell you what though.
My brains, I forget.
Don't worry. I've made a note of it, so I'll not let you forget. The reason I'm saying it is because anybody watching this, all of a sudden, you just suddenly throw in all these amazing global names that are friends of yours. I want to just take you back a little bit to give me some insight, because you mentioned about doing the events. But talk me through some of the events you've done and some of the people that you've had at those events, because it's not like an event as in some, you know, a small cafe with me doing a speech. You know, it's really a lot more powerful than that. So talk me through how that came about and some of the guests that you've had, and it's okay to name drop.
Yeah, no, I started off, my normal line work was always music, doing events for music side, and an opportunity came up with Al Pacino, a while ago, and he was my first show I ever did. So Al was doing it's like a one night with Al Pacino in conversation with Al. So basically, he goes on stage with a host and a theatre audience. They was doing this in America called One Night with Al. So I was trying to get Al to come to London. It took a while for him to be convinced. Eventually agreed to it. I think it took a year. So I managed to get Al over to London. We did it actually at the London Palladium, and he was my first ever show. We did, as if we call, in conversation with. So from kind of music, I moved over to One Night with Al Pacino. Well, it was like an evening with Al Pacino was called. So he was my very first show 5-6 years ago. Sold out in a flash. It was like amazing. And we had good Emma Freud. She hosted him. Well, she was half good. I do have gossip on that one. But it was a great show. Then from Al, that led me on to the start of a few more of years of in conversations with. After Al, I got a call from Sylvester Stallone's people. So I had Sylvester Stallone show after Al Pacino one, and it kind of snowballed from there. So I've done many actually. Stallone, Schwarzenegger many times, Charlie Sheen, Jane Fonda. My last one before the pandemic was last a year ago was with Kelsey Grammer and Sophia Loren. So they were my last two shows.
Rocco, it is a bit wow. I have to say, I'm a bit kind of overawed by that. That's amazing. And what I think is interesting as well about that is, I think that's a really good lesson in persistence. I talk to my clients a lot in business development and business growth about the importance of persistence. And what's amazing about that is, like you said, it took a year. Now, you could have very easily tried to get hold of him. It was a bit of a dream. Tried to get hold of Al Pacino, completely failed, and then thought, oh, it's not worth it. I won't bother. But clearly you kept going with that, with your eye on that prize.
Yeah. And it was thanks to one of his close friends, Barry Navido, was a film producer. And it was thanks to Barry who really kind of made this happen. But what a wonderful night, and I mean, I love Al. I'm a friend, a great fan as well. And so it was a great honor for me as well. So I did, it was like every year, so many shows of these big names came on board. If people ask me who was your favorite one, I don't have any. I don't know, because I'm not kind of, I find this as a job, and I've always involved a lot of people, young people, to work with me as well, to give them an opportunity, to give them an experience. So a lot of the young ones, oh wow, it's Sylvester Stallone, it's Al Pacino. So I never kind of got starstruck because I was just doing a job, and I loved what I do. And even for me, it's nerve-wracking because I'm dealing with big Hollywood stars and everything has to be perfect in the organization, because at the end of the day, it's my responsibility. Anything goes wrong, as a promoter, they come to me. But it's been a wonderful experience with them all. But I don't have any favorite ones. Probably, if I had to push, maybe Charlie Sheen. I love Charlie Sheen. Charlie's like one of us. He's just like down to earth guy, crazy guy. And I don't advise you to stay with him because he's always up like 48 hours. There's no sleep with Charlie Sheen. But you know what? He's like a good friend. He's like just a normal geezer. His celebrities doesn't bother him, or he's like just a normal guy. So I think at a push, probably, Charlie Sheen. But I've loved them all. So.
And then what was the format then, Rocco? Did you have them on stage being interviewed? Did the audience get a chance to ask questions or anything like that? How did that work?
Yeah. The show was always called An Evening In an evening with, and basically it was just that. We had the artist on stage with a host. The artist talked about his career, and at the end of the show, there was always an opportunity for the theatre audience to ask questions to the artist. So yeah, that was always the format. So it was a Q&A.
All right, that's just absolutely amazing. So
Yeah.
you're obviously got this background in music and entertainment. Was moving into into television from what you might call the live environment, was that part of you thinking about how can I adapt to the new scheme of things based on the fact you couldn't do live events?
Yeah, because it's out of boredom and depression. So what do I do here now? There's nothing else to do, because we had big concerts booked and planned. In fact, last June we had Carlos Santana on a world tour. One of our first shows was at the pyramids in Egypt. That was all stopped. So what do we do? Otherwise, we fall down in depression. Just like a typical artist, we need to be inspired. Let's do something. And I'm the type of person, I get bored quickly. If I don't do 10 jobs, I kind of, what's happening in my life, because I do many other things as well, and I love charity stuff and etc. And that's what led really to do my first show back on TV, The Health for Italy. And all these were put together in just a short time. Health for Italy was done in 3 weeks. Feel Good Factor, 13-week show, pulled together miraculously in 4 or 5 weeks, the whole thing. So it's because the message is to anyone, when you believe in something and you do it with love and you do it with your heart, anything is possible, anything is achievable if you do it with love and if you do it with passion, with your heart. And that's the drive I have, because when I love something, I kind of, nothing's going to stop me, come rain or shine. No money, no sponsors. It's going to happen because we says to the universe, there's a commitment here, and we're going to make it happen. And that's the way I work, and I enjoy what I do.
I think, Rocco, I think people should be able to take a lot of inspiration, and that should be, I would say that should be something that people should really reflect on and think about, because I know, I'm older now, obviously. I know I don't
look young. I know I
don't look a day over 25, but I've had a hard life, honestly.
21.
But what I see a lot of is, it seems to me that a lot of people don't create momentum. They start something, and I think this is particularly true of the current state of play with the pandemic and the last year and everything. And they dabble in it, but they don't drive through. I think of it almost like getting in a tank, and you put a tank, and a tank will just put it into first gear or whatever, and it will just drive through everything. But people easily get put off, or they lose interest, or this kind of, shall we say, they play at it. Probably is the best way to describe it. What strikes me about you is you are what I would describe as a doer. Is that a reasonable observation?
100%, but I also have them occasions where I have no drive. I do have to find inspiration, and I kind of either find it in myself or I go to other people to inspire me, to push me. I think I do get concerned about so many people who may start off projects, and it could be simple things that cannot go the whole way. It's because at the end of the day, there's not much help for people to have help. And it could be a business project. It's not easy to get any funding anymore these days. There's no help really. And sometimes I feel sorry for that, because somebody has a dream and they can't pursue it because there's really no help out there. Luckily I'm kind of independent. I find my own help. I find ways to help me. Because that's all I can do. I can't rely on other people, although I go to people or friends, for some time for inspiration. But I got to find it myself. If I don't find it in me, There's nobody else to do it for me. But I wish there was more help, because, I have them times as well where, look, we've got an amazing TV project coming up now and soon, and there's not much help. There's not help to, like, where is funding and where is, like, so it kind of, what, you got to do it yourself. You got to find ways of coming through yourself. People like blame the government and this, you can't blame. It's no point blaming people. It is what it is. You have to find it in yourself. If you believe in it, you'll find a way to reach your goal, and that's all you can do, and that's all you have to do, as much as best as you can. You've got to find your own drive, and just go for your dreams, even though there may not be much help there. You just got to do your best. Because you succeed in the end if you believe in yourself. It's all about believing.
Yeah, and you know what, Rocco? I've come across, I've interviewed a lot of people over the years, probably over 600, a lot of which have been entrepreneurs, some high-profile people, as well as just everyday folk doing their thing. But I would say that entrepreneurs very, very often show exactly that trait you've just described.
Yeah,
they don't blame everybody else, and they just take personal responsibility to do everything in their power to make it happen. And sometimes that will work and sometimes it won't, but they fail fast, and then they figure out how to get over that wall, under that wall, around that wall, through that wall. They'll find a way. And I think that's very typical trait of entrepreneurial thinking.
Yeah, I think everybody, we all got to take responsibilities for our action. You cannot blame other people for your failure or your success or whatever you're in. And that's the only, you got to be responsible for what you do. It's like if I do, I did a big concert with, for example, Rod Stewart. We had 200 people on the day working around Rod, and which is a big crew. But at the end of the day, it's my responsibility to make sure I deliver in all sense, whether it's sound, lighting, even cleaning the toilets, whatever it is. It's my job, it's my responsibility to oversee that. And even though I learn as I go along, if I'm not fit enough to do that kind of task, then I should be doing it in the first place. But I love these challenges because they are challenges. You learn from it. It's good to learn from mistakes because it brings you to another level if you accept it. But I never blame anyone. It's always, I have to. So sorry for that. I always have to blame myself if I do anything wrong. If my show goes wrong or my concert goes wrong, it's blame me, fire me, but it's my drive that I've got to get these right. And when I do put on an event, or I speak with people, or I inspire people, I always have with this common goal: nothing is impossible. Anybody can reach their goals with that drive, with that passion. It might be a small venture, it might be a big one, but aim for it. Stick to it. It might take a week, it might take a year, it might take 10 years, doesn't matter, but you'll get there, and then, and the good thing is we're all learning, life is about learning. I'm no expert. I've got a lot to learn in anything I do. I'm sure you're a more wiser man than I am, Phil,
No, I'm not, trust me.
Probably you're the man of the world. I don't know. And then, but it is a bit, one thing I've learned now about this pandemic, for example, and sorry if I babble on, I'll keep quiet. What's great is it's brought the whole world together more closer. There's more like love around, even now to the normal people I meet on the streets. Before they used to be a bit cold. Now, good morning, how are you? And that kind of, this kind of real love happening in the streets or in the world, so all this pandemic thing, there's some goodness come out of it anyway. People are more together, and I'm proud of when we had all them nurses clapping together and more. It just goes to show when there's a big situation in the world, we can, if we want, we can be together, you know, and that's like a good passion drive to me, you know. Go on, sorry, I speak too much.
No. I think I was absolutely listening to what you were saying, because I agree. Excuse me, I agree. It's a great leveler, as they say. And I think what has happened as a result of the pandemic is a lot of people have, in fact, vast majority probably of people have reflected, is the word that springs to mind for me, is they've reflected on what's important. They've reflected on, were they a workaholic? You know, were they on the hamster wheel? Excuse me, were they on the hamster wheel of life and not maybe taking time to smell the roses, as they say? Is their business model the right one? Are they doing a business? Is their business the kind of thing they want to be doing, or have they fallen out of love with their business? Lots of opportunities to reflect, and of course to do other things and adapt as well, which of course is what you were talking about. So just so that you can see I've not forgotten, tell us what you're doing now, and then tell us about Brian May.
I'm going to tell you about Brian May first, because I always thought, I have to say, I love that guy because he is a true trooper, that guy. So when we was doing Help for Italy, so I messaged Brian May about, can you do me a small message, something of love to Italy, of support. And I didn't hear anything from him for about 2 weeks. I thought, okay, he ain't going to do anything. Then suddenly I get this message to say, I can't remember exactly what it was, but he brought the conversation up. This was at the time when he had a heart attack. He was in hospital. Because with all of the press, he had this heart attack, Brian's in hospital. And while he was at the hospital, he said, I haven't forgot about you, by the way. Within 5 minutes, he sent me a selfie video message about Italy. I thought, wow, he's totally, and little things like that mean a lot to me, because the guy remembered, and he went out of his way, even though he was in hospital, did me a fantastic little minute video message to Italy. And I never forget that. For me, that's like a true guy, so
fabulous.
For me, it's a big story, because he does it with love. He did it with his heart, with passion. To me, that was important. Because I totally forgot about him. I said, we ain't going to get a message off him. Out of the blue, sends me the video message while he was in hospital. A great guy.
Yeah, that's wonderful story. So tell us then about what you're doing at the moment. And I'll say we're recording this at the end of February, so just 2021. Just tell us about this that you're doing at the moment then, and the story of how that came about.
So I'm launching a new TV channel on Sky. It's all about music related. So we're launching in April a channel called All About the Music. It's going to be a weekly channel on one of the Sky platforms, and it's totally dedicated to a platform of voice for artists and songwriters. In the weekly program, in the weekly series, we have a variety of programs to educate, to bring fun, inspiration, anything to do with related to the music. One of our flagship shows is called Let's Talk Music. That's a weekly educational show all about the music industry. So every week, imagine like BBC Question Time, never mind the Buzzcocks. So every week we have a different guest panel from the industry, and also different topics every week. I'm bringing this show back to England because I had a big hit show with it when I filmed it in Malta 10 years ago. We got an award for it because it was a big success. So let's bring it back here now. And it's a perfect timing because people want to be educated. People want to be inspired. You know, the music industry right now is on its knees, and people are finding and looking at ways to be inspired. And one of our programs is quite educational, you know, the Let's Talk Music. And then we have other content in it, which is the one, it's called Fab Song. Fab Song is all about an opportunity, no politics, no red tape. We want to give an opportunity to young artists emerging, signed, unsigned, a platform on TV where they can upload their music on Sky. So that's the opportunity we're giving a lot of artists right now. Of course, it's subject to Ofcom rules. We've got to check the videos and veto them, make sure there's no swearing, there's no nudity or whatever it is. But we want to give that opportunity on Fab Song as well. So we're all about a platform for artists, shall I say.
Do you know, Rocco, what strikes me is, and I always say this to a lot of people, is if you do interesting things happen. And I think if, you know, you're excuse me, you're inspirational in a number of ways, but one way in which you're inspirational, I think, is the fact that you try things, you try new things, you create possibilities, and it's quite inspiring and exciting to listen to the sorts of things that you're playing around with at the moment.
And that's a nice thing, Phil, because what I do, they come and go. They may last a year, they may last a few months, and because I move on to other things, because I kind of get bored and I like to do different things all the time. I come up with a project, I come up with an idea, I make sure I deliver. I always deliver what I say. It's like now, I don't miss any of the shows I've done. I've worn the T-shirt, I've done all the best in conversations with a array of artists and Hollywood stars, but I don't miss that, because for me now it's the past. I've done it. I'm moving in more into TV, but my biggest passion now to be, I'm hoping that I've got a film coming out soon. Well, we're working on the film. We're hoping to film end of this year, and it's a comedy film based on The Godfather. So we spent like a year scripting it, writing it, and I've already got big names attached to it. So after, even when we do the TV show for the music channel, which hopefully will be ongoing, it'll run by itself. But then my kind of biggest passion, maybe, or my love, I just want to focus on. I've never done a film before. It'll be my first one. I got a great team of people. It's based on The Godfather. It's a comedy, and now I want to spend a couple of years on that one, because I know we're going to have a big hit comedy film. Because I've been so much in the industry, behind the scenes, in films and Hollywood stars. Now I want to make one, and you know, I pulled in some great top directors and producers. They love the concept, they love the script. So then that's my ultimate goal, is to, if I drop dead, I want to be known as Rocco's made the most best-selling comedy film ever. You know, so that's my kind of now only goal, you know. So that's my love, you know, now, you know, I'm not too bothered. I do miss some shows, I must say. I miss putting some of them together, and maybe COVID permitting, or see what happens with the lockdown. You know, I do miss to do something maybe September, October, you know, even just a concert, because I kind of miss the fun of it all. And so, and maybe our dear friend Spence, we might do something together. I don't know. So,
yeah, I think there's some collaborations coming up between us passions and what you do. I'm inspired now, having met you. Okay, so just quickly, in terms of Sky and accessing the programs that you're doing, is there a channel number that they can go to find out about it or see it?
Yes, so the first show we actually launching now, we're announcing hopefully this week or next week or into February, is Fab Song. It will be on Sky Channel 191. It's going to be on air on the 4th of April, but be all out on social media. It'll be all promoted in the next few days. So all the information will be all like really plugged out on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. So the whole world will get to know it.
Okay, so how can people follow you then, Rocco? Because the people might be very interested in seeing how this progresses and getting access. Are you on Twitter, and have you got a Twitter handle?
I think now I do have a Twitter handle. We're going to be launching a new one as we speak, and it will be on Fab Song. So anybody who types in Fab Song, it'll be all on there, and everything can be followed on there. And of course, the other programs we're doing, they'll be all announced on there as well. So Fab Song is the leading name, which will be aired on Sky Showcase TV 191, and you can just go on there and you see all on Facebook and social media stuff, and be all on there. Well, we're preparing it for now, so by the time this interview's out, it'll be all out.
Yeah, fantastic. Right. Okay, amazing stuff. I'm gonna finally ask you one more thing. You mentioned about charity work that you do, Rocco, and I think you've done some work with the Big Cat Sanctuary, if I've got that right. What sort of charity work do you do?
I've always been, I've always raised money for a variety of charities. My main one I've always liked was the Children's Research Fund, and because, and Marie Claire Research. So every time we've done a show or a concert, we've always donated some of the money, the percentage, to that charity as well. So whatever came in, there was always a small allocation, not just to them, but a variety of charities. We always made sure a charity benefited from our shows. So we always give a small percentage. For the Cat Sanctuary, look, I'm talking to them now with the Big Cat Sanctuary about let's do a big show this year, September, and raise money for that way. The Big Cat Sanctuary is absolutely brilliant. What a great charity, and I hope any listeners, if you like cats, you got to donate to this Big Cat Sanctuary, because they deserve every penny. The guys behind it, James, they do a tremendous job, and then so if I win the lottery this weekend, which is apparently 175 million, we'll give a good donation. And for you, Phil, I'll buy you a brand new studio. How about that? That's a good deal.
I'll hold you to that. And now, of course, that's legally binding because you've said it on camera. I've got the recording of it and everything. So absolutely fabulous. Okay, Rocco. Well, thanks ever so much for joining me today. I know we could talk on for a lot longer because with your background and all the stories that you've got, but I would like to wish you well in everything that you're doing. I obviously look forward to maybe working with you and collaborating with you in the coming year or two, in the next coming year or two. And thanks very much indeed for joining me on Passions today.
Well, my last message, Phil, we should be collaborating in the next few hours. We don't need to wait a year.
I told you were driven. You're the tank. In my head now, you're the tank.
We'll be inspired. Phil, thank you so much. Thank you for your time as well.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you.